Captain John West sat alone in the dimly lit cockpit of his starship, his hands resting lightly on the controls. The vastness of space stretched before him, an endless sea of stars, distant planets, and unknown wonders. It was peaceful, almost. Too peaceful, but that was always the way in the quiet stretches of space. John had been on countless missions before, but this one felt different. A message had come through to his ship just hours ago, an encrypted transmission with only one cryptic line, "Only you may enter, human." He had stared at the message for what felt like an eternity, the words echoing in his mind. It was strange, unsettling, and certainly not the kind of invitation he was used to. A transmission from an alien race was rare enough, but this felt personal. The message was directed at him and him alone. He wasn't sure why or how. Something inside him told him he had no choice but to respond. John's mind raced as he read the message over and over again. The sender was unknown, but it wasn't the source that troubled him. No, it was the phrase itself. "Only you may enter." What did that mean? Why him? He had no special rank, no unique abilities, and no reason to believe that he was anything more than a standard starship captain. Yet, here he was, getting ready to answer a call from an alien civilization, one that he knew nothing about. His superior officer, Admiral Carter, had warned him against responding to such transmissions. "It's a trap, John," he had said. "You have no idea what you're walking into. The last thing we need is to end up as bait for some alien scheme." But John couldn't shake the feeling that this was something important. Something meant for him. He ran his fingers through his dark hair, exhaling sharply. There was no turning back now. The ship had already changed course, heading toward the unknown signal source. It wasn't far, a mere few light years away. In the distance, an enormous asteroid belt loomed, casting a shadow across the nearby planets. The signal had come from within that belt. As the ship moved closer, John's nerves tightened. It was one thing to receive a strange message, but it was another to actually follow through with it. He had no idea what awaited him: hostile aliens, hidden weapons, or perhaps something even stranger. But whatever it was, he was about to find out. John's thoughts were interrupted by a soft beep from the console. He glanced at the screen and saw that the ship was entering the asteroid belt. There was no turning back now. He keyed in the coordinates, and the ship glided forward. The asteroid belt was dense, with jagged rocks scattered across the expanse. The stars beyond it seemed far away, and the eerie silence of space filled the cockpit. The ship's sensors beeped, alerting him to several large structures hidden among the asteroids. They were not natural formations. A chill ran down John's spine. He was not alone. The ship's autopilot took over, guiding them through the debris field. John's heart pounded in his chest as they navigated through the treacherous path. His ship was a small vessel compared to the massive space stations and warships of some alien empires. But it was agile, capable of handling such tight maneuvers. The controls felt familiar in his hands, but the sense of unease never left. After what felt like an eternity, the ship finally reached the coordinates. John's breath caught as he saw it, a colossal ship, half hidden behind the nearest asteroid. It was unlike anything he had ever seen before. Its shape was sleek, angular, and far too advanced to belong to any species John knew. The surface shimmered in the light from the distant stars, casting strange reflections across its smooth metal surface. The ship seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy, as though it was alive. John had always known that alien civilizations were far more advanced than humanity, but seeing something like this in person made his blood run cold. His ship's AI chimed in with a calm, professional voice. "We are approaching the alien vessel, Captain. Requesting permission to dock." Hesitated for a moment before responding. "Permission granted," he said, though his voice felt hollow. He had no idea what he was about to step into, but there was no turning back now. The ship slowly docked with the alien vessel, the airlock sealing with a soft hiss. The doors slid open, revealing a hallway bathed in an eerie blue light. John stepped out of his ship, his boots clicking softly against the smooth, metallic floor. The corridor was empty, yet it felt alive. The walls seemed to shift slightly, as if the very ship was aware of his presence. John's heart raced as he moved forward. There was no sign of any life forms, but the silence was unsettling. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. His training kicked in. Stay focused. After walking for what felt like an eternity, John reached the end of the corridor. The door before him was unlike any he had seen before. It was circular, with intricate designs etched into the surface. The symbols were alien, but somehow they seemed familiar, like the words were speaking directly to him. The door opened silently, revealing a vast chamber beyond. The room was enormous, its ceiling high and dome-shaped, with a soft glowing light emanating from the walls. The floor was covered in a strange material that seemed to shimmer with an internal light, as though it was alive. John's eyes widened. As he stepped inside, the room was beautiful, breathtaking even, but it also felt overwhelming. The walls were lined with strange symbols and alien technology, some of which pulsed with an energy that seemed to resonate with his very being. He felt a deep hum, like the beating of a heart, coming from the walls. At the far end of the room stood an alien throne, a massive structure made of some kind of dark, polished material. Seated upon the throne was Queen Zorath, the one who had summoned him here. She was a towering figure, easily twice the height of any human, her long flowing hair shimmering like liquid silver. Eyes were deep pools of glowing violet, her skin a smooth shade of pale blue. She was both terrifying and beautiful, her presence filling the room with an undeniable power. John stood frozen in place, awestruck by her appearance. She regarded him silently, her gaze piercing through him as though she could see every thought. In his mind, for a long moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, Queen Zorath broke the silence. Her voice was calm but commanding, each word resonating with an undeniable authority. "Only you may enter, human." John's mouth went dry. Her words sent a shiver down his spine, and he struggled to find his voice. I don't understand," he stammered. "Why me? Why am I here?" Zorath tilted her head slightly, her eyes narrowing in what might have been curiosity. "You are here because you are the one who can understand. You're the one who can enter the chambers of knowledge. You're the one who has the potential to unlock what others cannot." Mind raced. Unlock what? What did she mean by that? He had never heard of anything like this before. He had no answers, only questions. But despite his confusion, something deep within him told him that this was only the beginning. Whatever was coming next, it was going to change everything. The Queen's voice was almost a whisper now, though it still echoed in the vast chamber. "Come forward, human. Step into the future." John took a deep breath, his heart pounding in his chest. He had no idea what was about to happen, but he knew one thing for sure: his life, and perhaps the fate of humanity, would never be the same again. John stood frozen in the doorway, staring at Queen Zorath as she sat upon her throne. Her presence was overwhelming, an unspoken power that seemed to fill every inch of the vast chamber. It felt as though the very air was charged with energy, making John feel small and insignificant in comparison. Yet, despite the intimidation, there was something else, something that beckoned him forward. Zorath's eyes, glowing a soft violet, held his gaze, her expression unreadable. She did not speak for a long while, letting the silence stretch between them like a thick, heavy fog. John swallowed, trying to steady his racing heart. He had no idea what was happening, but he knew one thing for sure: he was no longer in control of his fate. After a moment, Zorath spoke again, her voice as smooth as silk, yet carrying an undeniable authority that sent a shiver down John's spine. "You stand in a place few others have ever seen. It is a place of knowledge, of power, and now it is yours to unlock." John blinked, his mind struggling to process her words. "Unlock? What do you mean by that? I don't understand." The voice came out rougher than he intended, betraying his unease. Zorath did not answer immediately. Instead, she rose from her throne, her long silver hair flowing behind her like a waterfall of light. She moved with a grace that was both otherworldly and intimidating, her steps soundless as she approached him. The air around them seemed to shift as she drew closer. John could feel the warmth of her presence, a quiet energy that made him acutely aware of every breath he took. She stopped just a few feet away, her violet eyes studying him closely, as though she was weighing his very soul. Finally she spoke, her voice soft but carrying an edge of something ancient, something vast. "You are a human, a species I have watched for a long time. I know of your potential, your adaptability, your innovation. You are unlike any other species in the galaxy." John blinked in confusion. "What are you talking about?" "Just a captain, just a soldier, nothing special." Zorath tilted her head, her eyes narrowing slightly. "That is where you are wrong, John West. It is not just your species' ability to survive that makes you special. It is your ability to evolve, to change, to find solutions where others see only problems. It is the one thing that has kept your people alive in a galaxy full of predators. That is why I chose you." John took a step back, his mind spinning. "Chosen for what?" "Oh, for this," Zorath replied, her voice becoming more serious. "You are the key to something much larger than you can imagine. The galaxy, the universe, is changing. The old ways are dying, and a new order must rise. I cannot do this alone. I need you, John West, and your kind, to help me unlock the future." John's mind raced. He had never considered himself important. Captain in a fleet of many, a soldier among thousands. He had done his job, followed his orders, and kept his crew safe. That was all he knew. But now, standing before an alien queen who seemed to know more about his potential than he did, he felt lost. "What exactly do you want from me?" John asked, his voice steady, despite the turmoil inside. Zorath's eyes softened, almost imperceptibly. But the weight of her words remained. "I want your help to understand something ancient, something powerful, something that could change the fate of the galaxy." She took another step closer, her presence almost overwhelming now. "There is a chamber hidden deep within this ship, a place where the knowledge of the universe is kept. But only a human can access it. Only you." John felt his breath catch in his throat. A chamber of knowledge. The idea seemed far-fetched, too grand to believe. But Zorath's sincerity was undeniable. There was no mockery in her voice, no deceit in her eyes. She believed every word she spoke. "I don't understand," John said, his voice barely a whisper. "Why me? Why not someone else? Why not another species?" Zorath regarded him with an unreadable expression. "'Cause, John, the universe was not made for any one species to rule. It was made for many, each with its own strengths, its own unique gifts. And humanity, for all its flaws, possesses something no other species has: the ability to adapt and innovate. No other race can do what you can. No one else can unlock the chamber of knowledge. Not even I can."
Oh.
John shook his head, disbelief flooding his thoughts. "But I'm just a captain. I'm not special. I'm not some ... chosen one." Zorath's gaze softened, and she placed a hand on his shoulder, a surprising gesture of comfort from such a powerful being. "You may not see it, John, but you are special. Not because of who you are, but because of what your species represents. Your people are capable of greatness, of unimaginable possibilities. You just need to see it for yourself." John stood there for a long moment, his mind still reeling from the weight of her words. He had no idea what to think, no idea what was really going on. The whole situation was bizarre, impossible even, and yet there was something in Zorath's eyes, something that told him she wasn't lying. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, John spoke again, his voice barely above a whisper. "And if I refuse?" Zorath's eyes darkened for a split second, though her expression remained calm. "You will not refuse," she said simply. "There is no need to. You have already come this far. The chamber will reveal the truth to you. John West, the knowledge you seek will be given to you, whether you accept it or not." John swallowed hard, trying to process what she was saying. He had never been one to shy away from a challenge, but this was something else entirely. He was standing in an alien ship, before an alien queen, being told that he held the key to some vast galaxy-altering knowledge. It was too much. Zorath's voice interrupted his thoughts. "Come with me, John. The chamber awaits." Without waiting for him to respond, she turned and began to walk toward a set of doors at the far end of the room. The doors opened silently as she approached, revealing a narrow hallway bathed in a soft golden light. John hesitated for only a moment before following her, his feet moving on their own, as they walked down the hallway. John couldn't help but glance around at the strange alien architecture. The walls seemed to shimmer and pulse with energy, as though the ship itself were alive. There were no visible seams, no visible machinery. It was as if everything had been crafted from a single seamless material. Eventually, they reached a large, circular door. It was made of the same material as the rest of the ship, but it was covered in intricate alien symbols that seemed to shift and change before his eyes. John stared at them for a moment, his mind racing. What was this place? What was going on? Zorath placed her hand on the door, and it slid open silently. Inside, the chamber was unlike anything John had ever seen. It was vast, stretching out into darkness. The floor was made of smooth, black stone that shimmered with an otherworldly light, and in the center of the room stood a large, pedestal-like structure. "This," Zorath said, her voice low and reverent, "is the Chamber of Knowledge. The heart of the universe's secrets." John felt a chill run down his spine. The room seemed to hum with power, a deep, resonating energy that vibrated in the air. It was as though the very fabric of reality was bending around them. Zorath stepped forward, placing her hands on the pedestal. The symbols on the walls flared to life, lighting up with an intense, glowing energy. John felt a surge of heat and light rush toward him, and he instinctively took a step back. "This is where the future begins," Zorath said softly. "But only you can unlock it." John stared at the pedestal, his heart pounding in his chest. He had no idea what to expect, no idea what would happen next. But something deep inside him told him that his life and the fate of humanity was about to change forever. John stood in the heart of the chamber, his mind still reeling from everything he had just learned. The weight of the knowledge, the future of the galaxy, all of it pressed down on him. It felt like a heavy cloak, one he couldn't take off, even if he wanted to. He had seen the visions, the images of what was to come, then they were clear in his mind. The galaxy was on the edge of something terrible, and humanity had been chosen to play a central role. The task ahead was monumental, and John had no illusions about how difficult it would be. Zorath, standing beside him, watched him carefully. Her violet eyes were calm, but John could see the weight behind them, the responsibility she carried. She, too, understood the stakes. She had led her people for centuries, but even she could not control the future alone. She had brought John here for a reason, and now that reason was becoming clearer with every passing moment. "I know this is a lot to take in," Zorath said quietly, her voice echoing softly in the vast chamber. "But you have a choice to make, John. A choice that will shape the fate of all who live." John took a deep breath. "I know," he said, his voice steady despite the storm of thoughts in his mind. "I understand the importance of what's at stake here. I'm just trying to figure out where to start." Zorath nodded, acknowledging his words. "The beginning is always the hardest part, but you already know what to do. You have the knowledge, the power, and the will to change things. Now it's time to act." John glanced at the pedestal again. The ancient symbols that had once seemed so foreign to him now felt familiar, almost comforting. It unlocked something that he could barely comprehend, but deep down, he felt the responsibility coursing through him. The galaxy was in turmoil. His people, humanity, were about to become the center of everything. Somehow, John had been chosen to lead them through it. "What happens now?" John asked, his eyes meeting Zorath's. "Now," she said, "we prepare for what's to come." The weight of her words hung in the air like a cloud. John didn't need her to explain. He already understood. The knowledge he had unlocked had shown him glimpses of the future, glimpses of the chaos that was on the horizon. But it had also shown him something else, a path forward. A way to unite the galaxy's fractured species. A way to build a future where all could live not in fear, but in harmony. But it wouldn't be easy. The galaxy was divided. Wars had been fought for centuries, and the scars of those battles still ran deep. Zoroth's empire was one of the most powerful in the galaxy, but even it could not stand alone. There were factions, rogue leaders, and ancient enemies that would do anything to maintain the status quo. John knew that if he was to succeed, he couldn't do it alone. He needed allies, and not just from his own people, but from the other races. The other civilizations that called the galaxy home. "We need to send a message," John said, his voice more confident now. "We need to tell them we're ready to unite. We're ready to lead the galaxy into a new age." Zoroth's eyes softened slightly, though her expression remained serious. "It is not that simple, John. To unite the galaxy, you must first understand its heart. You must understand its divisions, its weaknesses. Factions are not all the same. Some will welcome your message, but others will resist, and some will fight." John nodded, understanding the challenge before him. "I'm ready. For that, I'm ready to face whatever comes. I'm not afraid." Zoroth studied him for a long moment before speaking again. "You may not be afraid now, John, but you will be. There will be times when you question yourself, when you doubt everything you've learned, everything you've seen. The road ahead is long, and it is filled with dangers, physical, political, and emotional. There will be moments when the weight of this responsibility feels like too much. But you must remember one thing. You are not alone." John's heart swelled with determination. "I know," he said firmly, "and I won't forget that." Zoroth gave him a small approving nod. "Good. The first step is to reach out to the other factions. The message must be clear. Humanity is ready to join the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as equals. You must show them that humanity can be trusted. And more importantly, you must show them that we have something to offer." "Something to offer?" John asked, his brow furrowing. "What do we have that they don't?" Zoroth's expression softened as she looked at him. "You, John, humanity's greatest strength is its potential. The ability to adapt, to learn, to create, are the key to unlocking a new future for all of us. The other factions do not have this. They are bound by tradition, by their history. But you, your people, have the power to change things, to break free from the past and shape something better." John thought about her words for a moment. The weight of her belief in humanity was overwhelming. She was right. Humanity had always been able to adapt, to learn from mistakes and grow stronger. But that didn't mean the rest of the galaxy would see it the same way. Many would fear what humanity could become. Many would see them as a threat. "We'll need to be careful," John said quietly. "The other factions won't trust us right away. It'll take time to prove we're not here to conquer, but to build." Zoroth nodded. "Exactly. And that is why you must take the first step. You must speak to them, show them who we are. I will help you, but it is you who must lead." John took a deep breath, steeling himself for the task ahead. "And then I'll do it. I'll reach out. I'll bring the factions together." Zoroth's expression softened into something like a smile. "I knew you would. Now, the next step is preparing for the council meeting. The leaders of the major factions will be gathering in a few weeks. It is the perfect opportunity to make our case. You must present yourself as a leader, as someone they can trust." John nodded, his mind already racing with the plans. He needed to prepare, to gather information, and to make his case. But more than that, he needed to convince the leaders that humanity was not just a new player in the galaxy, was a force to be reckoned with. "You're right," John said. "We need to make an impact. I'll need to contact my fleet, gather support from home. We'll need to present ourselves as strong, united, and ready to take on whatever comes." Zoroth stepped closer, her eyes gleaming with quiet approval. "You will need to prepare for more than just a speech, John. The council is a place of politics, of hidden agendas. They will test you, try to manipulate you. You must be ready for everything." John met her gaze, feeling the weight of her words. The future of humanity, of the galaxy, was in his hands now, and he couldn't afford to fail. "I'll be ready," John said, his voice steady with resolve. "I'll show them that humanity is ready to lead." Zoroth smiled, the faintest hint of pride in her eyes. "I believe you will, John West, but remember, you do not fight alone. We are all in this together." John turned toward the chamber doors, the weight of his new mission settling on his shoulders. He wasn't sure what the future held, but one thing was clear: he was no longer just a captain. He was a leader, and the fate of humanity and the galaxy was in his hands. As he walked out of the chamber, symbols on the walls dimming behind him, John felt a surge of determination. The path ahead would not be easy, but he was ready. Ready to face the challenges that lay before him. Ready to unite the galaxy. And no matter what came, he would fight for humanity's place in the stars. John stood in awe as the chamber around him came alive with light. The symbols on the walls glowed with a strange golden energy that hummed in the air, resonating with an invisible force that seemed to vibrate through his bones. The pedestal at the center of the room pulsed softly, its surface rippling like liquid metal, as though it were waiting for him to take the next step. Zoroth stood a few feet away, her posture relaxed but poised. She watched John with a quiet intensity, her violet eyes gleaming with a mixture of patience and expectation. There was no rush in her movements, no impatience in her gaze, only a quiet, powerful certainty. John could feel it in the air around him, the weight of her presence, the pressure of the moment. He knew that whatever happened next would change everything. "Why is this so important?" John finally asked, his voice low, the words heavy with his confusion. "What is this place? What does it have to do with me? Why am I the one who's supposed to unlock it?" Zoroth's gaze softened slightly, and she stepped closer to him, her long, silver hair flowing behind her like a river of light. "This chamber, John, holds the knowledge of the universe enchant wisdom, secrets that have been lost for eons. And the pedestal you see before you is the key to unlocking it. Only you, a human, have the potential to understand what it contains." John shook his head, his mind still racing. "But I'm just a captain. I'm not some kind of ... chosen one. I don't know anything about alien technology or ancient secrets." Zoroth's expression didn't change. She spoke with calm assurance, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. "Your species, John, has something no other has. The ability to adapt, to evolve, to create. That is the gift you bring. Their species, more powerful and ancient than yours, lack this ability. They are trapped in their ways, unable to change or grow. But you, ... you're different." John looked down at his hands as if he could find the answers there. He had always thought of himself as ordinary, just a soldier, just a leader of a small crew, doing his part. Now, standing here in front of this alien queen, in a chamber that felt like the heart of the universe itself, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was far from ordinary. But he still didn't understand. "Why him? I don't know what you expect from me," he said, his voice tight with uncertainty. "I'm not a genius. I'm not some kind of prophet. I don't have any special powers." Zoroth's gaze softened, and she placed a hand gently on his shoulder. Her touch was warm, almost comforting, and John felt a strange sense of peace wash over him. "You may not understand now, but you will. The answers are within you, John. You just need to open yourself to them. Trust yourself. Trust in the potential of your people." John exhaled slowly, his mind a whirl of conflicting thoughts. He had always believed in his crew, in humanity's ability to survive, but this was something else entirely. He was being asked to unlock the secrets of the universe, to access knowledge that had been hidden for millennia. It felt like too much, too soon. Yet, somehow, deep down, he knew there was no turning back. He took a step forward, drawn toward the pedestal, and as he did, the glowing symbols on the walls flared to life, brighter and more intense. The hum in the air grew louder, vibrating through his chest, filling him with a sense of power and urgency. His breath caught in his throat. It was as if the chamber itself was alive, aware of his presence. With a trembling hand, John reached out and touched the pedestal. The moment his fingers made contact, a shock of energy surged through him, coursing through his entire body. He gasped, pulling his hand back, but the energy was already inside him. It was as if the knowledge, the secrets of the universe, were flooding his mind in an instant. Images flashed before his as ancient civilizations, long extinct species, battles fought in the farthest reaches of space. He saw planets being born and dying, stars exploding in violent bursts of light. But amidst it all, there was something else, something he couldn't quite understand. Connection, a bond between everything in the universe, something that tied it all together. His head spun, and he staggered back, falling to his knees. The knowledge was too much, too overwhelming. He could feel the weight of it, the enormity of it pressing down on him. But through the chaos, one thing stood out clearly, a voice, soft and distant, calling to him. "John," it whispered. "You are the key you must choose?" John gripped his head, trying to block out the voice, but it was there, echoing in his mind, growing louder. "Choose," he whispered aloud. "Choose what?" The voice seemed to fade slightly, as if it was trying to make him understand. "The future. Your future. The future of your people. You must decide." Zorath's voice cut through the confusion, steady and calming. "Focus, John. Don't let the knowledge overwhelm you. You must choose. The path forward lies within you." John took a deep breath, forcing himself to calm down. He knew he couldn't let the chaos take control of him. He had to understand, had to grasp what was happening. With a slow, deliberate movement, he placed both hands on the pedestal once more. Immediately, the flood of images returned, but this time, John focused. He concentrated on the voice, on the whispers that seemed to be coming from the very fabric of the universe itself. Slowly, the images began to form into something coherent. He saw a vision of a galaxy in turmoil, on the brink of destruction. He saw a powerful empire, the same one Zorath ruled, fighting for survival against enemies it could not defeat. The knowledge he had unlocked began to make sense. Zorath had spoken the truth. The future of the galaxy, of humanity, was intertwined. Humanity's ability to adapt, to innovate, was the key to survival. The universe was changing, and in this time of chaos, humanity's strength would be needed more than ever. John's heart raced as he saw more. A great conflict loomed, one that would involve every race, every species in the galaxy. And in the center of it all, humanity stood as both the key and the weapon able to reshape the balance of power. But there was a choice to be made, a choice that would determine the fate of billions. The voice in his mind became clearer now, as though it were speaking directly to him. You must lead. You must unite. The knowledge you possess is the spark, John, but it is you who must light the fire. John's breath caught in his throat. He understood now. The pedestal, the chamber, the knowledge, it wasn't just about unlocking ancient secrets. It was about a responsibility. Humanity had been chosen for a reason. They were the ones who could change the course of history. The ones who could tip the balance in a universe teetering on the edge of chaos. He looked up at Zorath, his mind finally clear. "I understand," he said quietly. "I know what I have to do." Zorath nodded, a faint smile crossing her face. "Good. The path ahead will not be easy, John West, but you are ready, and together we will change the galaxy." John stood tall, his resolve hardening. The weight of the knowledge he had unlocked settled within him, but it no longer felt overwhelming. It felt like purpose. He had been given a choice, and now he knew what he had to do. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was at the center of it all. The future was uncertain, but John was no longer afraid. He was ready to lead, ready to fight for the future of his people and the galaxy. As he stood in the heart of the alien ship, surrounded by ancient knowledge, John West made a silent vow to himself. He would not let this opportunity slip through his fingers. He would not let his people down. The future was waiting. John stood on the bridge of his ship, staring out at the vast expanse of space. The stars were scattered across the dark canvas, distant and cold. But to him, they now felt closer than ever before. The mission that lay ahead was one of unimaginable importance. and it was his responsibility to ensure humanity had a place among the stars. He felt the weight of that responsibility more than ever. He had spent the last few days preparing for the council meeting, learning about the different factions, their histories, and their leaders. He had spoken to Zoreth, gathering all the information he could about how the other species in the galaxy would react to his message. Some would welcome him, some would resist. And some, John knew, would fear what humanity might become. The meeting was only days away. It would be held on a neutral station, a massive space station where representatives from every major faction gathered to discuss matters of importance. The council was a place of power, of politics, and it would be the perfect place for John to make humanity's presence known. But it would also be a place of danger. Alliances could shift in an instant, and enemies lurked around every corner. John couldn't afford to be naive. He had to be sharp. He had to be convincing. Humanity's future depended on it. Captain, a voice interrupted his thoughts. It was his first officer, Lieutenant Marla Hayes, her tone respectful, but with an edge of concern. "We've just received a transmission from Admiral Carter. He wants to speak with you." John nodded and gestured for her to connect the call. Moments later, the image of Admiral Carter appeared on the screen. The Admiral's stern face looked even more serious than usual. John could sense the weight of the conversation that was about to unfold. John Carter said, his voice grave, "I've been briefed on the upcoming council meeting. I know how important this is, but I need to make sure you understand what you're getting into. These factions are not what you think. Some of them are ruthless, and they will try to manipulate. They will test you." "I know, sir," John replied, his voice steady. "I've been preparing. I've learned what I can about each faction and their leaders. I won't be caught off guard." Carter studied him for a long moment, as if weighing John's resolve. "You're a good officer, John. But this isn't just about being a good officer. This is about politics, power, and trust. The fate of humanity is in your hands now. Don't forget that." John nodded. "I won't forget, sir. I'll do what needs to be done." Carter's gaze softened slightly, though the seriousness of the moment remained. "Just remember, Janira's strength is not just in your ability to command a fleet. It's in your ability to inspire. You have the potential to unite people, but that's a fragile thing. Trust can be earned, but it can also be lost in an instant." "I understand," John said, his voice unwavering. "I'll be careful. Won't let humanity's future slip through my fingers." The Admiral gave a slight nod, clearly satisfied. With John's response, "Good, I'll be following your progress closely. I trust you, John. Don't let us down." The call ended, and John sat there for a moment, staring at the empty screen. Carter's words rang in his ears. Trust was fragile. He had to be careful, not just with his words, but with his actions. One wrong move, and everything he had worked for could come crashing down. "We're approaching the station." "Captain," Marla said, her voice cutting through the silence. "The council will begin in 3 hours. Are you ready?" John took a deep breath and stood up from his chair, his mind focused. "I will be." The council station was a marvel of engineering. A massive structure. It floated in the center of a large space station field, surrounded by dozens of ships from different factions. John's ship, the Resolute, docked smoothly at one of the external ports. As they entered the docking bay, John could see the other ships, some sleek and modern, others older, more worn. Each ship represented a different faction, each with its own interests and goals. As he walked through the docking bay, John's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. He'd never been this close to so many alien species at once. He could feel the tension in the air, the unspoken rivalries that existed between the factions. There were no words exchanged, no friendly greetings. This was business, and business meant power. Zoreth, who had accompanied him, walked beside him. Her tall frame a stark contrast to his own, her calm presence helped ease his nerves. She had been through this many times before. She knew the game. Knew how to navigate the complex web of alliances and rivalries that existed in the galaxy. "Remember, John," she said, her voice low, "these beings will test you. They will try to provoke you, to see how you react. Stay calm. Stay focused. Do not let your emotions cloud your judgment. I won't, John replied, though his heart raced. He had to stay calm no matter what happened. The doors to the council hall slid open, and John stepped inside. The room was large, circular, and filled with representatives from dozens of different species. The air was thick with anticipation as the leaders took their seats at the long oval table. John noticed immediately the variety of species that were present, some humanoid, others completely alien in form. There were leaders from the insectoid Vracta, the technologically advanced Scythians, and the ancient Elandri, a race that had been in power for centuries. Each one had a reputation. Each one was dangerous in its own way. At the head of the table sat the supreme leader of the council, an imposing figure known as Torak of the Scythians. His species was known for their advanced technology and ruthless strategies. Torak was a master manipulator, and John knew that he would be one of the most difficult leaders to convince. Zorath walked with John to the center of the room, where a small podium had been set up for him. He could feel the eyes of the council on him, each leader waiting to see what he would do, how he would present himself. The weight of the moment hung heavy in the air, but John forced himself to stay calm. This was his chance. His chance to prove that humanity was ready to take its place in the galaxy. John West. Torak's voice boomed from the end of the table, the human who has come to us with promises of unity. Tell us, why should we trust your people? Are a species still in its infancy compared to the rest of us? What can you possibly offer us? John stepped forward, his voice strong. I know that humanity is young compared to your species, but we are a species that knows how to adapt. We have faced every challenge, every obstacle, and we have survived. We have learned from our mistakes, and we are stronger because of it. We offer not just strength, but the ability to change, to grow, and to innovate. Torak raised an eyebrow. Innovation? That's all you offer? A promise of change? Do you think that will be enough to convince us to join forces with a species so young? So unproven? John took a deep breath, steadying himself. What we offer is more than just technology. We offer a new way of thinking, a new way of working together. Humanity has learned the hard way that no species can survive alone. Fought wars, we have made mistakes, but we have also learned the importance of unity. We want to build a future where we all have a place, a future where we can learn from each other, grow together, and become something greater than the sum of our parts. For a moment, the room was silent. The leaders of the factions exchanged glances, their eyes narrowing as they considered his words. John's heart pounded in his chest, but he didn't look away. He had said what needed to be said. Zorath stepped forward, her voice calm but commanding. John West speaks the truth. Humanity has the potential to change the course of history. If we stand together, we can create a future where all of our species can thrive. Torak leaned forward in his seat, his sharp eyes studying John. Perhaps you are not as foolish as you appear, John West, but we will see. Actions speak louder than words. If you wish to prove your worth, you must show us what humanity can do. John nodded, his resolve hardening. I will prove it. I won't let you down, the council murmured among themselves, and John knew the real test was only just beginning. But for the first time in his life, he felt ready. He had come this far, and he wasn't about to stop now. The fate of humanity was on the line, and he would fight for their place in the stars.